we're going to spend the next couple of minutes to really talk about funding your business and crowdfunding. You've probably heard about this. Maybe you're a little familiar with it, but we're going to really roll up our sleeves and get to it. Okay. Crowdfunding is really a method to raise money through a number of through the collective efforts of a lot of people. Okay. And we're going to be talking in a few minutes with a serial entrepreneur, with Steve Kaye, who has done this and has great insight on it. But just as crowdfunding 101, right? Most of these crowdfunding sites have been around for about 10 years or so. They've already raised over $34 billion, right? And these, depending on the platform, you can raise it for personal reasons, for your business, for a nonprofit. So all of them, it's a question of really putting together your story, setting up a profile, if you will, and understanding the nuance and the benefits, the pros and cons of each outfit, of each platform, if you will, right? So depending on each one of them, the money could be used differently. There's a holding period for it or not. And as you can imagine, depending on each one of these, there are some associated costs, whether they're platform fees or transaction fees or what have you. So just very, very quickly, I'll go through a couple of them. If we can go to the next slide. As you know, the big ones are Kickstarter and Indiegogo. Okay, this is the one you want to take a picture of, right? So Kickstarter, has been around since 2009. They've already raised close to $6 billion. Their model is really all or nothing, right? So there you really have to decide how much money you're going to raise, and if you don't meet that, then you don't get it. Okay, so there needs to be a lot of strategy, a lot of thinking into that. Okay, but if you are successful, the fees associated with that is a 5% commission on the platform and 3% on the transaction. Okay, so that's Kickstarter. Compare it to Indiegogo. Indiegogo, in many ways, is a little bit more flexible. Why? It operates worldwide. It's got a great rating from the Better Business Bureau. The campaigns can run up to 60 days. Okay. And what happens is, for this one, you can get get the money even if you don't get the total number of what you were shooting for. So let's say you were trying to raise $10,000, but you only collect $7,000. With Indiegogo, you still get that money. Okay. The only difference with Indiegogo is if you don't meet your threshold, then there's a difference in the commission structure of what they take. Okay, so that's that one. If you want full and total flexibility with everything, the way for you to go is GoFundMe. Okay, GoFundMe to date has raised over $9 billion. That's with a capital B, if you will. Okay, there it's really, really versatile. You can do it for personal, for your friend, for business, for charity. They have 24/7 customer support. And what's their platform fee? Zero, absolutely nothing. Okay, so to that end, what they really leverage is a very small processing fee, which is about 2% and 30 cents per transaction. Okay, this one also doesn't have time limits associated with it. So you can do it, you can take a break, and you can continue with it. The last couple of ones that I'll just run super, super quick. You see in the upper left-hand side there, Patreon. Patreon is a play on word for a patron, right? So this is the platform that's really geared for artists, for people in fashion. And this allows you to raise money from your friends, from your family, from supporters, from admirers. Okay, this one has a slightly different model, if you will, and it's tiered depending on the monthly subscription. So their fees are anywhere between 5% and 12%. So again, just another one for you to take a look at. The last two, just to round out, WeFunder are for companies that are a little bit more mature, if you will. The raise there is between $50,000 and $500,000, and that one is really geared much more on the angel investing model. So people, you are selling people shares in your company. So at some point you will be able if you do really, really great and there's a liquidation event, you'll be able to cash in on that. Okay, and this one, once you submit your stuff, they do have to do your due diligence. They'll go through your numbers, if you will. For this one, the processing fee, regardless of how much money you raise, it's the same. It's 7.5%. Okay, and the last one, Lending Club. I include Lending Club here. You may be familiar with it. They've been around for a while. This one gives you both access to personal loans and business loans. Okay, so you will need to pay them back. But this is the processing and the approval process is much faster than a traditional bank. Your terms are usually 1 to 5 years, depending on what you go for, and that your interest rate really varies, that depending on your credit score yourself. So that one is tied to your credit score. So again, this is just a very quick synopsis to give you an idea of which ones may be right for you. Each of your business and personal situation is different. So look through all of that, give them a call as you need, and see what may work out best for you. Now that we just have a general overview of that, now we're going to have a real life conversation, a real experience with a serial entrepreneur and a good friend, Steve Kaye, who's joining us now. He is going to share with us his experience on crowdfunding. He had a very successful one. Steve, thank you for joining us. The floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. How's everyone doing? I hope everyone's doing well. It was awesome listening to all the stories before, because, you know, when you first build a company, you have to go through this whole process, and going through the trade shows and understanding the business part of it. We all had to go through that. So I'll give you guys my story in a second, but I'll give you a little update so you guys know who I am and how I got here. So I'm more of the engineer type. So we was a part of a big startup. They did computers. I was the engineering director, and we grew the company from, you know, 0 to $200 million, and they sold to Dell. It was a company called Alienware, and it was more techy. So when they sold, I stayed on board with Dell, and I knew I always wanted to have my own company. So I was a consumer products guy. I'm a product guy, so I like building products. And so the designer on the Alienware team called me one day, and he's like, let's start a company together. And I'm like, okay, because I knew the designer is really good at designing, and I was good at engineering the product, right? He makes it look pretty, I make it work. So that was what we needed to go do. But little did we know, we had to go do all the marketing stuff, all the manufacturing, all the sales, all the trade shows. So little by little, we started, you know, doing that. Like, you know, I forgot who was saying, Jane was talking about the trade show stuff and asking the questions and all that. So we started going to the trade shows and asking questions if the product would be cool, if it works, people, what do you think about it, the price points. We wanted to understand how the whole system worked, what are the margins and all that. So that was mostly me. The designer, I had him making sure that he worked on the design of the product, that, you know, it was waterproof, that it would look good, that it was functional, all the above. So now the point comes that we're ready to launch a product. We've done the research on it, but we need $200,000 to go get it started, because, you know, just like you guys, we need to have prototypes. Designers need to have product. We have to mass produce it. You have to have everything, right? So we get to this point and we're like, man, we need $200,000. We need to get the product ready to go. How do we get $200,000? And I'm from Miami, first generation. So I'm, you know, I have very little funds with me and my family and my group of friends. I had just, you know, I went to Florida State and, you know, had been working for a while, but I didn't have $200,000 ready to go. So what do I do? So I start researching, and just what Sergio did, he had all the things on there. And then this is back in 2003. And in 2003, Kickstarter was getting a lot of publicity, and a lot of cool products were being there, and there was raising a lot of capital. So I started researching and researching. I'm like, you know what? I think we're going to do Kickstarter. And everybody's like, what's Kickstarter? What's Kickstarter? And so I started understanding, and I talked and I had a lot of conversations with the group at Kickstarter, and they were really nice and very supportive, and they loved what we were doing. And, you know, we pitched it to them. So going back real quick, what Sergio and the rest of the team are talking about is building a product and building a company and having that pitch deck where you can communicate your product and your company to anybody. Well, we used that kind of stuff, and we used it to Kickstarter. So we went to the offices and everything, and we decided to go do it. So they asked us, all right, go ahead and do it. We negotiate everything. We launched it. And the first day we got one buy. The second day, my mom bought something. The third day, my dad bought something. So then I was like, man, we're not getting anything. Like, why aren't people coming to this website and giving us money? I thought it was a cool product. I did my research. Well, what do you have to do? You have to get eyes on it. You have to get marketing. So there was a company here in Miami that they did marketing, right? They're a PR company. So I talked to the owner. I go, look, man, I need help. I need eyes on this. He's like, yeah, we just started a little program. You'll kind of be our guinea pig but we'll charge you $5,000 to do the marketing program. I'm like, man, I didn't want to spend more money to not know if we're going to get money or not. So I thought about it over the night. The next day, you know, my sister buys something. So like I'm at 5 products sold or whatever. And I decided the last 5,000 I had set aside, I gave it to them. And sure enough, it got picked up by one of the major publications. I forgot now what it was. Engadget. It was Engadget. I'm sorry. So it got picked up by Engadget. The next day, I see $15,000 worth of product. The next day, $20,000 worth of product. And just like that, it took off. And in 30 days, we raised over $300,000. We were number 12 all time at that time. This is back then. Obviously, it's surpassed that, but we did really, really well. So that really helped me start my company, right? Because with that money from Kickstarter, we were able to go and start getting the production lines ready to go. And we really had already pre-sold, I think it was almost 1,200 units. What does that mean? I had 1,200 people piloting my product. And the good thing is that these people, from a marketing perspective, they were my consumers and I can have direct eyes to them. So I would ask them survey questions. I would ask them what colors they liked, what functionalities they liked. And it was a really good relationship because I learned from them. I understood exactly what the product needed to be, what their environments were going to be. And for me, Kickstarter was game-changing, almost life-changing for me. Since then, it's changed a little bit, and I'll talk to you guys about that in a second. But if you are interested in going through a platform like this, things have changed. Like you really need to understand it's just a platform, right? If you go to Kickstarter now, I Googled that right before we started. If you just do wedding dresses on Kickstarter, I think there was 38 different type of iterations of that. How do people know that what's that, there? Like if I'm a consumer and I want to spend money and I'm going to go to Kickstarter to look for wedding dresses, that's not really what happens, right? You actually have to market your product, just like you're marketing it to your website, like you're marketing it to your social media. You need a platform where they're going to receive the money and then distribute to you guys after you do what you want to go do. That's why Sergio talked about the different platforms, because every platform is different. You need to understand what it's going to do for you. For me, I knew I needed to raise this amount of money. And then once I did that, they gave me all the money and then I got all the product in and I delivered all my product. I delivered it within 7 months. I got really good feedback. I went to trade shows, got more sales, and I ended up doing, I think I was at 45 different retailers, 7 countries, multiple distributors, and it was awesome. I will tell you that it's since gotten a little harder, again, because it's almost like your own website. You have to build a platform. You have to build a presence. So take that into consideration. It's not that cheap anymore, where it was for me was $5,000 to go do a platform and to go do a whole marketing plan for it. It's not like that anymore. So really do your research on the social media presence that you want for your branding, but then also the Kickstarter, the press. I mean, I did press as well. We're talking about digital and hard code media. That works. Just make sure you understand the cost and what it takes to drive eyes to that platform so they can go get sales, pre-sales and stuff like that.